additional bilingual education situation is, but I would assume that's also going to be on the rise. And we would need the personnel to be able to service this type of child. I do believe that the default programs that we have at the moment don't address a bilingual child's needs, or let's say a parent wishing to have their child in an alternative program. In other words, what they are producing, it would seem to me, would not address those types of needs. Would you have any information on how they are addressing that concern?
Okay.
If they are?
Okay, so you have before you some memorandum of understanding and teacher education agreement. So the local universities, UC Santa Cruz does indeed have what you're referring to as, and what we use as the acronym is for BCLAD, which authorizes teachers to teach bilingually. So UCSC does indeed have them. I know they're limited because we went to the teacher recruitment fair this past spring. I would say they had less than a dozen, students eligible or graduating with the BCLAD, and there's many districts, we're all vying for them. So they do have them, but it's a small number, a very small percentage. As far as CSUMB, Superintendent Martinez and myself have been in conversations with the Dean of Education, Dr. Jose Alvarado, and at this time they do not offer the BCLAD, and we emphasize our concern, the same exact information that you just shared, and the need for having BCLAD graduates and credentials offered. So they did share that at this point they have the option of preparing students for the exam. Because you have the coursework, and then you have the option of taking the exam and ending with the same authorization. So in turn, what we're going to do is that's the option, and we can create a cohort to have, because the conversation began, and we could take some next steps, which would include preparing a satellite campus here, or if we have X amount of interested candidates for the BCLAD that they would ensure, we can offer facilities and they have the faculty. So we started that conversation over the summer, and I know it's going to continue. I just got continued working on the hiring before we pursue that additional.
I understand it's a very tough situation, especially for the schools of education.
Correct.
But would you agree that they are reaching out, making attempts to reach out and recruit prospective candidates for this type of program?
I couldn't speak to that part, but I could speak to the part where they understand our concern and our desire to have BCLAD teachers. And we're willing to collaborate with them on a solution, and they're willing to do the same as far as their recruitment and what they do to solicit candidates for their program. I know that they're trying to work with us and many of the districts in the area to address teacher shortages, period. Providing summer trainings, internships, so the teachers don't begin the school year without any knowledge. So there was an intensive boot camp, if you will, for intern eligible student teachers or student interns. So they want to give them the skills necessary to begin the classroom. So they're addressing the need to build capacity of their student teachers so they can begin the school year. And they're even making some accommodations and waiving the CSET, because prior to that, that's a test that's required to begin your credential program. And in the past, it's been a prerequisite before you even begin. So they've extended it and given a grace period that allows them to begin an internship with the November deadline. So I agree with you in terms of there's a need. We've begun the conversation, but we indeed need to continue it.
And one more question on the University of Reno, Nevada. How did they come into this seems so far removed?
Yes. Well, because of technology, we're able to bridge large distances, and we have many universities that we work with. And many times, the individual candidates come in with an internship program that they're already enrolled in, and then in turn we have to ensure that there's a memorandum of understanding. And that was the case with Reno. Candidates flying, making the necessary requirements to even be eligible an internship. So we have MOUs with Brandon University as well. So because of 21st century, we're able to provide our support to teachers and teacher intern hires. They meet the requirements to become fully credentialed. The university in turn has a collaborative relationship with us.
So we would conclude we have a healthy dialogue with these universities concerning this issue.
Correct. And we're going to continue the dialogue. Like I said, I know that we're being as proactive as possible to even plan for the 2017-18 school year. We're beginning to think about what we can do now to grow our own. I know that Superintendent Martinez spoke to the hiring that took place over the summer. We're very fortunate that of those hires, we had 6 that were our former students. We're really proud of returning Mission Park students, Cameron, Los Padres, Natividad. We also had among the hires classified employees that are now part of certificated. So I know that in the long run, there's going to be legislation that maybe make that come to fruition, where we see we're able to have funding to grow our own classified employees onto certificated employees. So yes, the dialogue with the universities has to continue along BCLAT and teacher shortage period. So I'm outreaching to have those conversations.
Thank you very much.
Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 7, 8, 9, and 10?
I move to approve consent agenda items 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? 5-0, motion passes. We're going to move on to informational items. Consent? I'm sorry? Oh. Are we doing information first? Or we doing action?
Information. So before you is some information around the grand jury report on English learners. So what I'm passing to you right now is the actual confidential memo that was given to us and the board responsibilities around the report. So the report is called Overcoming Obstacles Together. And just some background information, I was approached in the fall by one of the grand jury members to ask if we would want to engage in a collaborative effort to learn more about English learners. And so I said sure, because I'm always open to folks to learn more about our district, and certainly I felt that we have a lot to offer in the way of what we were doing with our English learners. At that particular time, I was not informed that this was a grand jury investigation, and it wasn't really actually until probably early spring that was even conveyed to me. But regardless, we engaged in a collaborative process. They conducted interviews with administration and staff. They reviewed documents. They published a report in June, and I think I mentioned that to you at our last meeting, that the report had been presented to me, the findings, and it would be released to the public. So we received that on June 10th, and it was released to the public shortly thereafter. This is the methodology from which they used to investigate our district. They did interviews. My understanding is that there was a grand jury report conducted with Monterey County Office of Ed. It's kind of cited in the summary that Monterey County said this was more at a district level responsibility, and so that they selected Salinas City simply because of the representation that they thought that that represented Monterey County at large. They made on-site school visits, but I must say that one time I was on site, I ran into a couple of the jurors, and they told me that they were there just to learn, but they weren't really there as part of the report, so it's a little surprising that they use that as their methodology. They attended public meetings, the ones listed there, and they reviewed documents and articles. So the content of the report, it's very short, includes discussion items around a district summary statement, looks at the programs that we're offering in our district, how we track our English learners basically by using SELT. They also wrote small paragraphs around our school climate, home environment, and then they talked about the obstacles to learning. The last portion was the findings and the recommendations. Those were the findings that they found. I think they're very simplistic in nature, to be quite honest with you. Many of the things that I said to them are some of the things that they wrote as an actual finding. The readiness of our English learners with limited vocabulary, probably limited vocabulary in English. I concur with that. They said that there's no after-school care for our preschool programs, a little bit difficult to offer, but that was one of their findings. They also said we needed instructional aids. One of the findings were we had no aids in grades 2 through 6. When in fact we have credentialed teachers providing intervention for those grade levels and our kids that are most at risk. They looked at our reclassification rates and the focus on those as a means of not tracking students in middle school and certainly giving them the greatest opportunity to meet their A through G requirements when they reach high school. Low participation at parental participation in meetings, and the need for more collaboration time for teachers, the inadequacy for the time allowed for parent-teacher conferences, and then, as is happening throughout our nation, the shortage of teachers, and the assignment of those teachers to classrooms with high levels of English learners. So the next slide looks at those recommendations. They're asking us to provide affordable after-school care for preschool and our pre-K classrooms. They want us to increase parent participation. Specifically, these recommendations are made for our parents of English learners. They want us to hire aides into our 2nd through 6th grade classrooms and compensate teachers for additional time spent outside to collaborate with parents. Make reclassification one of our focus areas, and then seek partnerships with other outside agencies. So those are the findings and the recommendations. The next slide talks about the board's responsibilities. So to the findings, we either have to agree with the finding or disagree. And then with the recommendations on the next slide, we must report one of the following actions. Either this recommendation has been implemented, the recommendation has not been implemented, or the timeline of when we will implement these. A recommendation needs further analysis with a written explanation, and the recommendation will not be implemented because it is not warranted or it is not reasonable with the exclamation attached. So the next steps for us, this really was just an information item so that you could go over the board responsibilities to the report. This report was addressed to the board. And our next steps would be that we would be able to provide you a response for each finding and recommendation that we would assign. I hope that you would assign a board rep to meet with the staff around those responses. Prior to, we're thinking probably the last week of September, if we could meet with either 1 or 2 board reps, because this report needs to be submitted to the Honorable Judge Mark Hood on September 13th. So those are what we put up as possible recommendations of how to proceed with this. Unless you want to schedule a special meeting to address it. going to certainly do that. I think we have a lot of our responses pretty much ready to go, but we just really need to solidify those in a manner that would be acceptable to the judge, so we can make sense of those. Information item, and any questions?
Well, I just have a question about, shall we appoint somebody, or shall we have a special meeting? What are you people thinking? If you put it on one person, that's quite a bit, but if you have a meeting, that's for everybody.
Well, I don't think it's really a lot. If you want, I can meet with Martha and come up with suggested responses to these recommendations. I agree with a lot of them. And some of them are, I think we have to explain why we
Well,
don't.
that's quite a no-brainer, right?
Right. No, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously. So, it's on for information. So, but if you'd like to know, I'll sit down with Martha.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
If that's where you want to go.
We can meet in September, if that's okay. Maybe we can approve it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
So we will have the staff craft the responses, both for the findings and the recommendations, and then we'll review those with you, and we'll certainly review them with the board at large also. And then we'll bring them back to the September 12th meeting for your approval. I don't think this doesn't need board approval, but it's your response to the grand jury, so I think we want to.
Mr. Henry, do you have a question?
Yes. So that's the first question. How many of the board members did, in your packet, did you get a copy of the grand jury report? Or did you read it?
We had been sent a copy by email when it first came out.
Okay. Did y'all read it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to verify that first point. So, because I have a copy here if anyone needed one. Ms. Martinez, when I read the newspaper article, kind of slamming it, I kind of, until I read the actual report myself, it was very lacking. They didn't put any connection to anything that they reported in terms of how those specific recommendations would actually, meet the goals. And so I'm a very much an early childhood person, but what they're putting on the school district is above and beyond what would be appropriate for the district financially and probably your scope. But I thought we might see some data presented, actually. And I do have some data I wanted to show you from English language learners that we got from a previous Public Records Act request. And so in it, we'd asked for some of the proficiency levels of English language learners. And so this document was given to us from the district. It gives us a table for all the English language learners.
I'm sorry, Sean, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a
For
question.
Martha? About the information item that she's presenting?
Okay,
Or are you trying to present on this item yourself?
presenting a little bit, yes.
That's really not what we're here.
Okay, well, I have a question about the data, the question I gave her, so I handed her something there. So it does show that the data between the 3 dual immersion programs, within the current numbers of students that have been reclassified, Lincoln is at 14% reclassified rate based off of the numbers that you gave, which is the lowest among the 3 DI programs. So in this presentation, I was wondering to see some data that was presented, that contradicted or actually the report or some more information about our English language learners. So
Thank you, Mr. Oh.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Silvia Huerta. Quiero decir otras palabras, por favor. Miren, aquí tengo un maestro muy especial para doble versión, un maestro que fue de primera porque yo lo visitaba en su salón y aquí no me deja mentir que yo iba a su salón y miraba a todos sus estudiantes, todos sus estudiantes iban parejitos. ¿Por qué? Porque tenía doble inversión y nosotros sabemos que la doble inversión es para que los niños salgan adelante. Los niños hablan puro inglés en su salón y en la casa, ¿qué es lo que el lenguaje que hablamos nosotros? ¿Cuál es? El español. Y allá
I think she's saying a lot, but basically she's supporting the dual immersion program. She says she knows of a teacher that did a great job in the dual immersion program, and that what is the language that the kids speak when they come to our schools? What do you think is the language? That's what she's saying, and that she knows of a teacher that is, I guess, that knows how to teach in the dual immersion program.
Ms. Huerta, por favor. Does she have a question about the grand jury report?
Bueno, sí tengo preguntas porque es mucho lo que encontraron, porque es 100% niños latinos, 100%.
I understand, but unless you have a question for the superintendent about the grand jury report.
Pregunta no, nomás sí estoy preocupada por todo lo que estoy viendo del ¿cómo se dice? Todo lo que salió, que de veras estamos muy atrás de la educación.
She says that she doesn't have a question, but only concerned with all the findings that were really behind in education.
Porque este distrito ya fue revisado, no recuerdo cuántos años lo tuvieron en conservación y estoy viendo que no hemos salido de lo que ellos querían. Entonces estoy preocupada porque 100% somos niños latinos y nosotros tenemos lenguaje en la casa español y acá lo tenemos puro inglés y así no van a aprender. Yo les digo porque yo participé mucho en los salones, en las escuelas y yo vi cuando mis hijos bajaban, cuando estaban con una persona que no hablaba el español, mis hijos bajaban.
So she's generally very worried about our students, and she sees the findings, but she also mentioned about her own personal kids when she had them with only English teachers, how they would go down, and then when they were with the bilingual staff, how they would increase. So she is supporting.
And I very much understand that, Ms. Huerta. And
Ok,
your point is well taken.
muchas gracias por escucharme. Gracias. Adiós.
We appreciate your comments. I think the essence of what Ms. Huerta was saying is that she has seen over time that concern over our English learner achievement, and she's seeing it as being a continued concern. So that's the essence, and you see it too.
Thank you.
Gracias. Good evening.
Gabriela Perez, Mission Park. I had a quick question, partially in regards to the report, and that is, we hear a lot about support for the Spanish-speaking population, but we have more and more population from other countries as well, with languages, religions, cultures that are very different from ours. And where is the support for that, like Arabic, Thai, other languages where there isn't even another child in the school that could help out with simple things, where is the bathroom, how do I do this, how do I do that? What can we do for those? Because a Spanish-speaking child will always find enough peers and teachers who speak Spanish to help them out. But what about the ones that don't speak Spanish or English?
I appreciate your question. I think this particular report was centered around the demographics that make up the majority of our county, and so they focused on Spanish-speaking English learners, but I do appreciate your comment.
Hi, Cheryl Cameron again. I do have a question. I don't know if you're aware that I do have data in a report that was for the entire 15-16 school year with all parental and community involvement, with details and numbers and everything that might be useful in answering one of those inquiries up there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Any other questions from the public about this information? What? And I'm sorry, folks, I'm just trying to be a little bit tougher about what we talk about during these meetings because we seem to get off track sometimes. And I'd like to try to keep us on track and keep us moving forward, okay? So, no disrespect intended. Let's move on to this next information. Oh, sorry. Oh, Lydia. Public comment, okay?
Superintendent Martinez and esteemed board members, I'm here tonight to actually introduce you to 4 different speakers who are going to make some very short presentations on the summer programs that we offer to our students this summer. They were all successful and all very exciting for our students. First, I'd like to introduce our newest partnership, Maggie Malone Ichiguru, who is with Hartnell, NASA, close to 300 of our students participated in this program, and Maggie's going to tell us just a little bit about it. Maggie?
Hi everyone, thank you very much for having me. I'm really happy to be here today and present what we did over the summer with your students. And first of all, I want to thank the district because it was an amazing partnership, an amazing opportunity to show the students not only what Hartnell has to offer, but also what the district can provide to them. And I did find that a lot of parents weren't sure what this was all about, and I was very happy to tell them, well, this is a free summer program that the district is providing for you. First of all, NASA MAA stands for Mira Aerospace Academy, and it's one of 9 programs in the nation. We were the first ones on the West Coast. There is now a new site in Fresno, the closest to us. We've been operating this program for over 4 years at Hartnell College. We started with an intention of serving 625 students, and we have now surpassed the 5,000 students per year. Through these partnerships with districts is how we've been able to increase the number of students that are receiving our program. All right. So what we offered were classes for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. The classes were from 9 o'clock to 12 p.m. in the following topics. 3rd grade, they built a composting system, demonstrated and discussed closed-loop recycling system, performed plant germination experiments, discussed methods of food production, etc., etc. It's kind of a long list. What the students did with all this was not sit and hear a lecture. They participated in groups and did hands-on experiments and hands-on activities during the whole day. The 4th graders designed airplanes. They actually shot some little rockets, nothing with combustion. It was all very small and minimum, but it's a way of showing them and putting them in the place of being engineers and prepared for more things in the future. Okay, so these are some pictures actually from those groups. As you can see, the hands-on activities up in the top, the group discussions that were really, really interesting. We also had an opportunity to have the students all go to our Aerospace educational lab where we have a drop tower for low gravity experimentation. We have a real-time flight simulator and several other software to show them what aviation and the principles of aviation are. We also had 3 special guests, one for every week. We had a scientist come down from NASA Ames, from Moffett Field, who came to talk to the students about her journey. She's a Latina, she's very young, and she's working as a scientist at NASA Ames. And what we wanted to do is show the students that they too could aspire to something big as working at NASA. The second week we had the weatherman from KION. He came by to show the students some information about weather and how his career went from his interest as a very young child into going into STEM, which is weather station. The weather is also part of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And the third week, we had the NASA Ames radio return with another partner from the NASA Ames office. 5th grade, again, they did a series of experiments and activities more than anything. And then we had a 5-6 combo. The reason why we have a 5-6 combo is in 6th grade, it's very hard to get the students to come to anything after school or anything summer. Their interest is in a different place. They're already half in middle school. But those who did show up, they had a blast. We used the same curriculum and we moved some of the 5th graders up to that class. 3rd grade, we had 81 students participate. You can see the numbers fluctuate there. 4th grade was our highest with 90 students, 5th grade 78, and then 5-6 combo 61 students. For a total of 310 students more or less. We had some classes that would increase every now and then. Some students took the wrong bus and came to our program instead of the other program they were supposed to. But overall, it was very successful. We had great support by the district. We were very pleasantly surprised to have health aid there. We had an aide for special ed students. We had just the general support from the food system, from transportation. It's not something that we were used to tell you the truth, and we're very excited about what's happening in the future. More pictures, there's the NASA lady. The students all received t-shirts that say Salinas City STEM Academy with the NASA logo in the center, which they really, really loved. And the idea of what we do is provide them with something that they can wear with pride, and they can go and say, I went to a STEM Academy, that's my interest, and not wear some other things that might not be as interesting. The weather line is down there, and then some students doing some activities too. And that's it.
Okay. What's really exciting is that in September, we're going to start our first 8-week program. We'll do 3 of them during the year, that it will bring this to 175 students at every school site. Thank you, Maggie. Next, Hilda Huerta is going to talk about the Jump Into Math program, which was offered through the use of our Title I supplemental education.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Martinez, Hilda Huerta, and I'm going to talk to you again, not again about our Jump Into Math Summer Math Academy. This was an intensive intervention math program. We offered the program to 313 students. It was a 14-day program for 3 hours. And we hosted the 2 sites had the program. One was Rwanda Meadows and the other one University Park. And we had 2 teachers in charge, Sarah Mercado and Aide Gonzalez, and we also had health aide, a secretary, yard duty supervisors, breakfast supervisors, and we used Title I funds to pay for that. And the students that participated were 2nd through 6th grade students, and the student ratio was 10-to-1, so it was great because the students are very intense. They need a lot of help. And in the classroom, there was a classroom teacher and a paraprofessional in the program. The overall data summary, we started with 324 students, but 313 participated, so 96.6% of students completed the program. The second grade students up to 4th grade took a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. Their test is called EDMA, Early Math Diagnostic Assessment. This is it's math reasoning and numerical operations. The students in this grades, their pre-test, they scored 7.5%, and the post, they went up to 10.9. So the increase was 3.4%. Overall increase was 45%. And the 5th and 6th graders took the BASI, the Basic Achievement Skills Inventory, and again, this assessment assesses students on computation and application, and you can see the pre-assessment 5.9, the post 8.9%, so they increased 3%. Overall, 52% increase. Remember, the students are very, very low, so this might be small increments, but remember, they made gains, and I think the most important thing is that this program was it's a bridge for the students to be ready for the beginning of the school year. Otherwise, if we had not offered this program, the kids would have never had the opportunity to learn some skills and be prepared for the beginning of the school year, or be ready for the teachers with some math skills that they really need. So hopefully next year we have more students participate in this program, and this is the supplemental educational services that we provided for our students this summer.
A third program that we offered was this very, very special one that highlights our relationship with Cal State Teach. And actually we have Alice Flores, Rosie Alvarez, Tad Fumagai, and Linda Coyne, who are the director and the instructors in the program. They work with our intern teachers. It's hosted at El Gavilan. So Alice, would I introduce you?
I'm one of many.
Yes.
Hello, Roberto. Roberto came and spent the day with us this summer, so that was very nice of you to do that. Cal State Teach, in partnership with your district, just to answer your question about are we interested about bringing in more bilingual teachers and dual immersion teachers, yes, we've written a grant. We might get it funded if we do. Salinas and 2 other school districts are our partners, and we will train all teachers across the state in Cal State Teach to be second language teachers. So, but we also have to worry about Chinese and French as well, because we do have large contingents in different parts of the state. So it will be Spanish mainly, but we will have Chinese and French as well. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We should know by the end of August whether this grant is funded. It's a federal grant, so we are trying to support you and support the teachers in the state of California. Cal State Teach, this is our second year of running the program. We have an engineering component, an animation component, a coding component, plus music, physical education, and a very strong literacy component. And we served 140 of your children at El Gavilan this year. And next. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Artie. Good evening, I'm Rosie Alvarez. Never reach. Welcome back. Seems like I never left. For our Cal State Summer School, we did have 120 students. We had 140 who did enroll, but only 120 showed up. And we had students in grades K to 5, and the students attended school 4 days a week, and they went for 6 hours daily. We thought, oh, that's a lot of time, but we maintained 97% attendance. So we're really happy about it all through the 5 weeks. The students that we selected were students who were at the intermediate level of ELD. And these are the students that are usually stuck. If you do any research on ELLs, you'll see that there's a group that hardly ever moves up. It's very difficult. And at the end, they become long-term English learners. So we decided we're going to really focus on those kids to give them more oral language skills so we can boost them up and they can get out of that level. We had approximately 22 teacher interns from Cal State Teach, and they had we had an average of 3 to 4 interns in every classroom, so the kids got a lot of help. And we averaged from 15 to 20 students in each classroom. The interns receive staff development every Friday, and they receive staff development, of course, on ELD, so all the Cal State students that you receive from us have learned all the strategies for ELD, so they're well prepared. And they learned and received staff development on engineering, animation, coding, classroom management, which is very important, and of course our ELD. On the intern's last day of the program, each one presented what they learned, what they taught, and all the highlights of their summer experience. So we thought it was a really, really positive summer program. I really want to recognize 2 coaches from Salinas City. Of course, one of them was recognized this evening, which is Jeremy Belinda and Matt Cassidy. Jeremy was our coach. Fantastic job, and Matt was our teacher in charge. His first time doing this, he did a fantastic job. Good job, gentlemen. So now they want to present some slides, took slides of all the work that our interns did this summer, and they want to present those to you.
All right, so yeah, I'm Matt Cassidy, the teacher in charge. So to briefly kind of go over the program as a whole. So we had approximately 120 students in K through 5 classrooms, 6 of them, with the 95% attendance as we talked about, over 5 weeks. So kind of a long time for summer school. This is with 21 Cal State teacher candidates, with which 4 teachers in a class is a good learning environment for the students. So there were essentially 5 programs that we implemented over the course of the summer. These programs covered the content areas of ELD, language arts, science, and more in our full 6-hour day. So, teacher candidates were trained on vocabulary strategies based on the Rule of 3 ELD curriculum. A large portion of the day was ELD focused, where our teachers integrated a combination of Tier 2 and Tier 3 vocabulary words into their curriculum to meet the students' diverse language needs. After piloting the program in last year, the RAS Kids was fully implemented in all grade levels but kindergarten in our program. Students were challenged with independent reading practice at their individualized reading levels. Teacher candidates were also exposed to project-based learning, something close to our hearts at LGAPLAN. And these were all LGAPLAN students, so they were getting a little taste of what they're going to get this coming up year. Using the Engineering is Elementary curriculum. Through these teacher-made project-based learning units, students practice next-generation science standard curriculum through project-based learning and engineering cycle.
Jeremy Galimba, and I was the academic coach during our summer program. I'll just continue. So for 1 week out of the program, each class was introduced to a variety of famous artists like Picasso, and you can see some representation there. Students use a particular artist style guide as well as specific mediums to create their own original representation. And we also had some coding. And students were introduced to the basic principles of coding through web-based programs such as Blockly, as well as some hands-on activities through the Coding Unplugged curriculum. And then they even developed their own little coding dance called the Hokey Pokey Robot. See little kindergartners doing the Hokey Pokey. And then also that leads us to animation. Through a 1.5 week long unit on animation, students worked through the process of developing storyboards. Then they created flip books. Then they produced actually some stop motion videos. And then they finally generated some computer animations through a program called Makeda, which you kind of see, and that's some student work right there. Really innovative. And as you heard before, Fridays were solely dedicated to staff development. The teachers were trained on how to implement the 4 C's of 21st century learning with their students. And the sessions include essential topics for incoming teachers such as classroom management, student engagement, close reading, unit planning, curriculum planning, and technology integration. So just wrapping everything up. Next slide for you. This partnership between CST, or Cal State Teach, and SCESD was not just a benefit to the students of LGAPLAN, but also the teacher candidates as well, and I believe the whole district. Currently, there's 8 teacher candidates that are now working in the district as full-time teachers. Yay. And so they get to bring their training and expertise to the students across the district, not just at LGAP. So our hopes is that this partnership and program will continue to get even better and maybe serve as a model for integrating professional development and student achievement as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And our fourth presenter is going to talk about multiple programs, all that were offered by our migrant department.
We offered programs starting June 15th and we finished on June 29th, and we actually still are doing some post-assessments on our preschoolers, so we're still continuing on. We served over 500 students in home and site-based programs. The services, it's okay, I'll just keep going ahead with this one. The services were provided by certificated, classified, and contracted professionals. And the funding came from our migrant education allocation as well as a sub-grant that we received targeting specifically our 3 to 5-year-olds for Migrant Education School Readiness Grant. Okay, it's a little bit, it's very tiny over there. We had 7 programs that ran. The first one was our outdoor education, which is something we do joint with the California Mini Corps and the Monterey County Office of Education Region 16. 25 of our ingoing 5th and 6th grade students get to participate in the week of outdoor education, where they go and basically have science camp, if you would, out at Mount Toyon. And it's a great experience. Not all of our students are always here at the time their schools go to science camp and are able to participate. So it's really a great program for them. We also have, and have for the past 25 years, been a part of the Binational Teacher Program, which is together with Migrant Region 16. Teachers come from different areas of Mexico, and we have 2 teachers that worked in our district this year. One that was primarily an ECE and early education teacher, and the other one was a teacher who taught across several grade levels and was actually an English teacher in Mexico. And I know that they came to the board meeting, you met them when they were here in June. They were phenomenal educators that did great work with both our parents and our students. So they did several workshops that were family workshops outside of the weeks that we had site-based programs. Our main program, I'm going to skip a little down to MESA Junior Otters at CSUMB. We do that in conjunction with Region 16. So about 60 of our ingoing 4th, 5th, and 6th graders participate. We recruit them, we provide transportation, but it is something that Region 16 provides to actually entering 4th through entering 8th grade students across the county. Every district receives an allocation of numbers. The students spend their summer days, they come home every evening, at CSUMB. So they leave Salinas rather early, some of them as early as 7:15, and don't get back until close to 5 with the transportation. And they're there at CSUMB for 6.5 hours participating in intensive academic programs, as well as working in some technology and arts-based program with Teatro Campesino and some other providers they bring in, as well as having an experience with some staff from CSUMB on what it was like a college life period, if you would, during that day too. So it's a really phenomenal opportunity for them to leave our school campuses, still be engaged in academics, and spend the summer somewhere else. So our attendance, we have great attendance with the kids that we send off to that program. So what we have at our school-based, our site-based program, which is called Explore the World, which was held at Sherwood, more or less the same dates. We try to run them parallel to the programs there. Really, we have a lot of our ingoing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders because they cannot go to CSUMB, and we do have ingoing 4th, 5th, and 6th who are not participating in that program. So we had over about 182 students, and we did have great participation too. I think we were 97.5 attendance at that program. It ran for 6 hours a day as well. And the students, their day is almost like high school. They're scheduled, and they have 6 periods where they have math, a language and writing component, art, a technology, a cultures, and a dance and leadership component. So the kids quickly figure out their schedule faster than the adults trying to cart them around. I mean, point them in the right direction. They know where they're going when that bell rings. We do have the fortune to be supported also with help from the Mini Corps program, the California Mini Corps program. And they're always a great bunch of college students that are looking into being future teachers. And I love this year, one of our teachers he goes, well, I want to be here